Hi guys, it's Todd. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited for today's video because guess what we're talking about? Vaccines. My absolute favorite topic. I love talking about vaccines. It's just so fun when I have people accuse me of not getting vaccinated and say that I have polio and tell me that if I hadn't gotten vaccinated, I wouldn't have a disability, and also that if I did get vaccinated, I wouldn't have a disability. And it's just so fun. I love talking about vaccines so much. All sarcasm aside, this topic is a really important one, and it's something that we need to be able to discuss in a calm and respectful manner. I have been thinking about making this video for a while, but I held off on it just because this is a controversial topic, and then I got even more comments about vaccines on my video where I talk about how I became paralyzed from the neck down. You can check that video out up at the top. So getting those comments made me decide that I really just need to sit down and chat with you all about vaccines, because clearly this is something that a lot of people don't know the accurate information about regarding my disability. So to start off, most people know that there are two sides to this whole vaccine debate. On one side, we have the people who are anti-vax and they are totally against vaccines. They think that they cause autism, which no, and they are not for vaccinating their children. And they often think that literally any disease someone has was caused by a vaccine. And then on the other side, we have people who are super pro-vax, and they push for vaccines, and they often don't acknowledge that there are some risks when it comes to getting a vaccine. So we kind of have these extreme viewpoints. We have the all the way anti-vax people, and then we have the super pro-vax people. Honestly, I think we need a balance of these. Personally, I'm in the middle here. I am not an anti-vax person who thinks that children shouldn't be vaccinated and that vaccines cause autism and all these other things, but I do think that it is perfectly reasonable to be a little cautious and ask your doctor about the risks of getting vaccines and choose what is best for your child. When making these decisions, you need to be reasonable and not just not vaccinate your child because you wrongly think that they're going to get autism from it or something. You need to have a valid reason for not wanting your child to get a certain vaccine. And these valid reasons could be that maybe your child has an autoimmune disorder and getting a vaccine could have some risks for them. And it's perfectly reasonable to question that and be cautious. On the other hand, it's not good to just not get any vaccines with no basis. If you have a medical basis, then that's different. But if you just don't vaccinate your child just because you don't want to vaccinate your child and you don't have a valid reason for it, then that's not good. And also, allowing your child to have every single vaccine without asking your doctor what the risks might be and considering whether your child might have some complications if they maybe already have a disorder or a disability that puts them in a higher risk category for those complications, that's not good either. There definitely just needs to be a balance in the middle of these two extreme attitudes. Now, I also don't think that this issue should be such a public issue. Really what I mean here is I don't see why if you don't want to vaccinate your child, you're constantly telling everyone not to vaccinate their child. Although I strongly disagree with not vaccinating your child without any reasonable medical basis for not getting vaccines, what you are doing with your child's vaccines does not need to be made so public and not everyone needs to know. That should just be between you, your child, and their doctor. Although, like I said, I heavily disagree with that. And the same goes for the other side. Pushing people to get vaccines without knowing if that person is genuinely at a higher risk for complications is not good either. It's no one's business whether you got vaccinated or not. That is your business, your parents' business if you're a child, and your doctor's business. So let's just connect this topic of vaccines with my disability. Most of you know that I have a disorder called acute flaccid myelitis, or AFM, which is caused by a virus attacking the spinal cord. And immediately when I tell people what AFM is and they hear the word virus and they hear spinal cord and they put those terms together, their minds seem to automatically go, vaccine. And this is so frustrating to me because there are no links between AFM and vaccines, whether it be from getting a vaccine or not getting a vaccine. My doctor is an expert on AFM, and he has said that there are no links between AFM and vaccines. But for some reason, even when I tell people this, these anti-vaxxers or super pro-vaxxers seem to think that they know better than a doctor who is an expert on this disorder. Honestly, if you just Google acute flaccid myelitis vaccines, you don't even have to click any links, and the CDC website tells you that AFM is not caused by a vaccine. And also, if people who thought AFM was caused by a vaccine just did a little bit of critical thinking and thought about how the virus that causes AFM is the same virus that causes a cold, they would realize, oh wow, there aren't any vaccines for a cold. So obviously, AFM could not have been prevented by a vaccine or caused by a vaccine. Critical thinking, you guys. And then there's even people who think that a polio vaccine could prevent AFM. No. I have said that AFM is, quote, modern polio because polio is similar to AFM, but they are not the same thing. Polio has been eradicated in the United States. So obviously the polio vaccine would not prevent AFM, it prevents polio. And let's just say that I was like the only person in the United States who didn't get the polio vaccine. That doesn't mean that I would all of a sudden just get polio. I would need to be exposed to the polio virus to get polio. And the polio virus is not in the US. It has been eradicated. So I would have to go somewhere where the polio virus still is prevalent to get polio. So yeah, no. Polio is not AFM. The polio vaccine would not prevent or cause AFM. They are separate things, and AFM is not linked to vaccines. So I guess what I really just want you all to take away from this is that we need to create a balance between the anti-vax argument and the super pro-vax argument. It is not wrong or bad for people to want to be a little bit cautious and know the risks when they are getting a vaccine, because it is a dead or weakened form of a virus being injected into your body, and that's some serious stuff. So it's not bad to just be cautious when you're considering getting a vaccine or really any other medical treatment. So yeah, I just really wish that this topic wasn't so controversial and wasn't pushed out there so much. It's really the anti-vax group that has made it so controversial because they're anti-vax for all the wrong reasons mostly, and they make people who have valid health concerns look bad when we're concerned about getting vaccines, when really we're just trying to be cautious and reasonable when it comes to our health. So if those anti-vax people just stepped back a little bit, they could make the vaccine argument so much less controversial and more reasonable. Because really, when it comes down to it, a lot of those anti-vax people just love to take disorders like mine and use it to push their narrative. I've seen so many posts where there's people blaming AFM on vaccines, and if I comment on them, it just never accomplishes anything. Those people refuse to have their minds changed, even when I tell them that my doctor is an expert on AFM and says there is no link between AFM and vaccines. So it is so frustrating that these people just want to take a disorder that is life-altering, like mine, and say it was caused by vaccines with no basis just to push their anti-vax narrative. That's really wrong, and that's just horrible to not actually care about people like me who are affected by AFM. When those people are just using AFM to push their incorrect narrative, it just shows how much empathy they lack, because it's super wrong to take a disorder that has really affected so many people and use it to push a false narrative. So what I ask is that we discuss vaccines calmly and respectfully in the comments, and that we don't comment anything about AFM being caused by a vaccine, and that we just have some civil discourse in the comments. I do want to let you know that if you do comment anything about AFM being linked to a vaccine in terms of not getting a vaccine or getting a vaccine, your comment will be deleted, because I don't support having incorrect information left in my comment section. I hope that this was enlightening for you all and that you appreciated my perspective. I know that this is a controversial topic, but hopefully this made it a little less controversial and made sense to you all. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, leave me a comment, a respectful one, hit that subscribe button, and remember to hit that notification bell so you never miss a video of mine. I post new videos every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern and sometimes Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern, and I hope to see you at the next one. Bye guys!